All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Académie Lafayette board meeting for February. Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you for spending a part of your Valentine's Day evening with us tonight. Everybody should have gotten the agenda in your email. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. This is Harriet.
Everybody, welcome to the
Second.
Lafayette for
Second, this is John.
February.
I need to mute the
Thank you for
meeting.
spending a part of your Valentine's Day evening with us. Mr. Mbang, can you mute your gotten the agenda in your email?
Yeah,
Can I
one
get
second.
a motion to approve the agenda?
This is the issue of,
So moved. This is Harriet.
Everybody, welcome to.
okay, let's go.
Okay, are we good? All right, do we have any stakeholder comments tonight? Did anybody sign up? I don't believe so.
No, Beth, but I didn't hear the motion Harriet just made because it was talking going on.
Oh, Harriet motioned to approve the agenda and John seconded.
Yeah, I got that, but I thought she said something after that.
I think it was just coming through on YouTube. So
Okay.
the replay, so.
No problem. I just didn't want to miss anything. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, so no stakeholder comments. Is Alonda on yet? Do we know if she was? I don't think I see her. Right, so if she does join, we'll go back to the PTO report.
You know what I mean? It's not agenda.
Oh, right, I was like, what is the, okay. January meeting minutes. Hopefully everybody saw those in your email. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved, Michelle.
Second, Gwen.
Great. Thank you. All right. And so I know we have a guest joining us tonight. Thank you, Amani, for being here. We sort of put you at the top of our agenda. So for the governance committee report, we'll start with an update from you, Amani. Do you need to be able to share your screen? Yes.
I think I can do it without.
Okay.
It would be, it would be ideal, but I can ultimately just send all of this in a format, to everyone once
If you want to share, no problem. You can do it.
Okay, so recently, I don't know if you've heard the big news. We have been working toward funding equity, which is House Bill 1552 and Senate Bill 869 for funding equity for charter schools. In a nutshell, it is we are asking legislators ultimately to support this piece of legislation because of a glitch in the way they formulate federal funding for Missouri charter schools that happened in 2005. So ultimately, I just want to go over a few of the facts. So this 17-year-old, and I'm gonna use my computer over here on this side, but this 17-year-old ultimately glitch is what we're calling it, fixing the glitch, is responsible for the underfunding of Missouri charter schools. It's an outdated formula, and for local effort dollars and other dollars that would actually be flowing into Missouri charter schools, they are not. Ultimately because of this law, and it's based on property values from 2005. So ultimately the reason why the fight is so strong in an effort to kind of to get this equity with other district managed schools is because property tax dollars increase every single year. So ultimately that disparity is going to continue to increase, with each year that passes, which is why it's so important that we stay obviously steadfast and on top of legislators to support this piece of legislation. It excludes charter schools, Missouri charter schools, from local effort dollars and local funding, like I mentioned before. And then it also excludes charter school students, Missouri charter school students, from receiving other revenues that they could possibly receive from local effort dollars and other federal dollars. As it stands currently, charter public school students receive thousands of dollars less than students that participate in a traditionally district managed or traditional public schools. As a result of this, we are missing out on approximately $54 million this year, which will continue to increase every year subsequently, if we're unable to get this legislation for funding equity passed through the House and through the Senate. St. Louis charter school students receive a staggering $2,500 less per student than their counterpart in a traditionally managed district school. And students in Kansas City receive $1,700 less. I mean, these amounts are absolutely per student are staggering. Based on ultimately what traditionally managed schools are getting per student. And ultimately the legislation, which is, part of the fight is, us just saying we want these dollars no matter what public school option, your child chooses, we want these dollars to follow those children. So if they choose a charter school, we want them to also be of it, be able to accept and be responsible and have those dollars as well. Charter schools serve ultimately half of all the public school students in the state of Missouri. We're talking upwards of 26,000 students. We are talking 50% literally in Kansas City and almost 40% here in St. Louis. So those dollars really do make a really, really big difference. Again, as far as to being able to, to pay for anything from, additional funding for social emotional learning, for counselors, for transportation, for, whatever those, for additional staff for whatever reason, those dollars could go, very far, $54 million across the state for charter school students. So that brings me to ultimately what we've been asking, and how we've been able to get the legislation passed. This past week, the bill SB 869 was presented with testimony in front of the Missouri State Senate Education Committee. It was passed with an almost unanimous vote of 7-1. Which means that obviously they're hearing us, they're listening from us. There are people who are, in opposition of this bill. But I think that they are, really, because of all of the calls from parents, because of all of the letters from parents, from all of the trips to the Capitol, all of the phone calls and all of the things that the association has been putting into place, and subsequently the school systems have been putting into place to support those efforts, we are able to see the funding equity bill move out of the Senate Education Committee and onto the House floor, which could potentially happen anytime within the next couple of weeks. And I'm new at this, I'm just, coming on, which is seeming like, at the very end of a very long, dogged fight. And I just want to let everyone know that, their efforts on this have not been lost. And I understand that it's been a process, but ultimately being able to push this legislation through will result in millions of dollars, for charter schools and the students that they serve.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Last year, it passed out of the House and died before it got to the Senate.
Mhm.
This year, it is coming out of the Senate and going to the House. Is that correct?
Well, it's come out of the House. So it's actually gone through the House Budget Committee. And that process happened about a month ago. And after that, subsequently, the next step was to go through the Senate Education Committee, which was done last week, which is what is now going to lead us to present the bill to the floor, to the House floor. And if it passes on the House floor, then we'll move to the Senate floor.
Okay, did it pass last year through the House floor?
No, it did not.
It did not pass through the House floor last year.
But it went out, they ended session before it got there.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle.
Okay.
It did not finish, the process of being able to go through. Yes.
So our next step now is the House floor.
Next step is the House floor.
So, and we are in February. What is our time frame to get it to the House floor?
The next few weeks, because it passed us, so almost close to unanimous with the Education Committee, Senate Education Committee, we can expect to possibly have it heard on the House floor within the next few weeks.
And what's our, obviously we're positive, but there are some people that are not all in favor of this. What's our read? I'm interested because of budgeting and stuff to that effect. I mean, it makes a humongous difference to our budget.
Right, I understand that. And to be completely candid with you, the answer to that fluctuates from day to day. Depending on who we're talking to, depending on who people are calling, putting pressure on, depending on who, there are intentional efforts on, for that particular day or particular week. These types of things fluctuate. But as far as I know, we are looking good, going, from, a 7-1 vote in the Education Committee to, reaching the House floor. We're in good shape.
Okay, and so far we've been received positively out state on this bill.
Positively out of state?
Out state. The rural areas are in the House positive about this.
Those are the people that we probably want to garner a bit more attention from. At this point, we have been able to, slowly identify them now that we've been able to pass the bill out of the Senate Education Committee. We've been able to identify those, who had questions, who may be on the fence or, may be solidly opposed, and we'll continue to identify who those people are, and ultimately reach out to them. And that will come ultimately from efforts that are coordinated from the Missouri Charter Public School Association, and then the schools, obviously, that we serve.
Do we feel that the representatives here in Kansas City are behind this?
That is something that is a loaded question.
Okay.
And to be quite frank, I can't honestly answer that yes or no.
Okay.
I can add, Harriet, from when we went to Jeff City last Wednesday, we met with several of them, including some from St. Louis. And we have 3 of the reps actually coming into AL to meet with Mr. Bang at the Armour campus. We've got 1 date solidified and the others we're still working on, but 3 that committed into that to come in, tour the school and talk to us. And 2 out of those 3 said that they are in favor of this.
Do you want to say who they are, or would you rather not?
Yeah, I'm happy saying, because they they said it to us in front of there, but Ashley Bland Manlove said yes. Michael Johnson said yes. And Patty Lewis gave a very non-committal answer, but with her support for education. And
Where's Ingrid? Where's Ingrid on this?
Ingrid, we did not meet with, now I didn't in my group, another group may have.
There are groups that have had contact, and pardon me for interrupting, Michelle.
That's
No,
okay.
that's good, because I didn't have an answer on that one.
Yeah, that have contact with Ingrid, and she's obviously on our list of people that we definitely, she's on our radar. People that, we have contacting her, sending weekly messages and weekly phone calls to Ms. Burnett.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
I think the question is, what do you need from the rest of the board and from parents? I know, Michelle, you've been a tremendous help sort of coordinating this and getting messages out to parents, but is there something different or new that we need to be doing to continue to, have people be a part of it?
Absolutely. So we are kind of in the same shoes. We just came off of this, what essentially we're calling a victory, last week. And so we're still ultimately trying to figure out the best intentional way to approach the bill as it, goes to the House floor. But what I can say is that ultimately phone calls from parents, emails from parents, putting out yard signs, anything that you can do. We have all of that to draw, to bring awareness, to raise awareness and to draw attention to funding equity, for charter school children and for charter schools. We actually have a toolkit that actually, has a lot of these things in it that I can absolutely send to you, along with some kind of talking points and some kind of, just little tidbits about funding equity. Parents can also text 58664. They can get, legislative updates regularly about where we are in the bill process, and all that information I can also send over to you. So that the more you can, include it in a bulletin or a newsletter, and just get it in front of, parents, hearing from them, legislators hearing from parents is what really, is the thing that pushes them, to a certain, side, whichever side that may be. Hearing those stories from charter school parents about why they chose a charter school, hearing stories about students who have, who are in special education, who are being extremely well cared for, and in a charter school. Legislators hear those things and they definitely take heed when they hear those types of messages from parents.
And I think also what we can do, because we have been getting like the text, the text link to parents, some of that stuff from the toolkit. There's a survey that you can fill out that goes directly to Patty Lewis's office. There's a nice click to call option that it dials the rep from your area. And we've been getting this out to parents, but I think one of the things we could do as board members is share that in our neighborhoods, and with your neighbors, because they're all taxpayers. And so if they support this, I think hearing just even from taxpayers about we want the taxes we're paying to be equitable, I think could be helpful.
And there are easy ways to find your legislators. You can actually literally Google it, and it'll send you to a site that says find your legislator. You type in your zip code and it'll pull it up for you. It'll give you your state rep, your senator, and your House rep.
I forgot, we also met with Greg Razor, and he's been in favor and remains in favor.
And that also brings me to Michelle, to those people, that we mentioned that, have been supporters of this legislation. A call to say, hey, thank you is also nice for a parent. Yes. For them to see and hear from us to say, I know we've been calling you, I know we've been bugging you, I know we've been at your door, but we see how you were voting and we see how things are moving, and we want to thank you, for supporting that effort.
Can you tell us who voted against on the Senate Education Committee?
Senator Shu.
Okay.
And Senator Koenig is the sponsor. So he's not, in the vote, but
yeah.
So if people are wondering why it's 7-1, Senator Shu was the holdout.
Okay. But that helps us also know who to send the thank yous to on that education committee too. So
absolutely.
Okay. Cool.
So Michelle, maybe you and I can work to just sort of figure out the right information to go out to the board with sort of those key action items that you were talking about, so that each board has those links and sort of the ways to really help move things along in this effort.
Absolutely.
And the only other thing that I think that I didn't hear you mention that is important to know, I think Dr. Bedell has been supportive of helping to sort of move this legislation forward in a way that St. Louis Public Schools have not. So I think it is great to see his support on this issue that means a lot to charters. So I think it's worth noting his role in that.
100%. I'm glad you said it, Beth, because coming from me, it's a little, but coming from you, yes, Dr. Bedell has been extremely supportive.
Yep. All right. Any other questions for Amani? All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Valentine's Day.
Thank you. It was nice meeting all you all. Thanks, Beth. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks.
Chat soon. Bye-bye.
All right. Next, we have some training that Dana needs to do regarding Title IX. Dana, are you still on?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Happy V-Day.
Hi.
And nothing says B-Day like Title IX training or sexual harassment. So how about that?
You want
Having
to
said
share your
that,
screen or?
we have a YouTube video from the Department of Education. It's 14 minutes, I believe, and it is going to give you an overview of the Title IX changes that came into effect August of 2020. Not a whole lot has happened because of our friend, the pandemic, but we know it's time for us to get into this. There will have to be a probably more extensive training provided to administrators and our Title IX coordinator. But this is a great place for the board to start and understand what its obligations are in terms of the new changes. So I'll let somebody click on the YouTube
Okay, 1 second.
channel.
I'll do it. Trying to make sure that I have. Okay. YouTube video.
Hello, I'm Kenneth Marcus, the Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights in the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights. The mission of the Office for Civil Rights, or OCR, is to ensure equal access to education and to promote education.
I lost sound. Did anybody else?
Yes.
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 Mr. Mbing, did you mute your sound, your YouTube sound?
Yes, he did. So you have to keep your unmute. You have to stay unmuted, Mr. Mbang.
The problem is, okay, I need to get to YouTube and unmute it. Yes, wait a second, because on the presentation over there, I have to mute it. Okay, otherwise it's going to be an echo. That's why it's making an echo.
It wasn't echoing, was it?
No.
No, it wasn't echoing. It was fine.
Can you hear it now?
Nope.
No,
It's
because you
not
have to push
playing.
the on button.
Okay, can you hear it?
That law prohibits
There you go.
discrimination by recipients of federal funds, which includes most colleges, universities, and public elementary and secondary schools.
Well, there it went.
No, I decided because you missed the beginning.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Kenneth Marcus, the Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights in the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights. The mission of the Office for Civil Rights, or OCR, is to ensure equal access to education and to promote educational excellence throughout the nation through vigorous enforcement of civil rights. OCR's enforcement jurisdiction includes Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972, commonly referred to as Title IX. That law prohibits sex discrimination by recipients of federal funds, which includes most colleges, universities, and public elementary and secondary schools. Title IX requires schools to respond appropriately when they learn of sexual harassment in their educational programs or activities between students, or between an employee and a student, or even between an employee.
Sound's gone again. I wonder if
Mr. Mbang, you can't mute yourself. There you go.
Free speech rights. This is the first time in history that protections against sexual harassment have been enshrined into federal education regulations. Before now, schools and students were subject to guidance documents that lacked the force or effect of a law. But students alleging sexual harassment deserve more than just non-binding guidance letters. They deserve to be protected by the law. In this webinar, my OCR colleagues and I will explain many of the new protections provided to individuals who allege sexual harassment including sexual assault under OCR's new Title IX regulations. We hope that you will see the new ways that these regulations support students alleging sexual harassment and protect their privacy while also respecting their autonomy. The regulations were announced on May 6, 2020, and the new protections discussed in this webinar, like the other provisions of the rule, are effective on August 14, 2020. OCR's new regulations provide a new definition of sexual harassment that schools must use for Title IX purposes in order to protect students from sex discrimination. For the first time, OCR is defining sexual harassment to include even a single instance of any of these serious forms of sex-based sexual harassment: sexual assault, dating violence, domestic violence, and stalking. Previously, OCR analyzed whether such conduct was sufficiently severe or pervasive to be covered under Title IX. No longer will OCR evaluate whether sexual misconduct of this nature meets severe or pervasive thresholds before Title IX protections are triggered. Now, each of these forms of sexual misconduct will constitute a per se incident of sexual harassment when they are based on sex. By defining sexual harassment to include these forms of sexual misconduct, Title IX will cover a wide range of serious violations of a person's bodily and emotional autonomy, regardless of how many times a specific type of incident occurs. Sexual assault incidents include not just rape or attempted rape, but any instance of forcible or non-forcible sex offenses. The crimes included in our definition of sexual assault do not require physical force or violence, but rather are based on the lack of consent on the part of the victim. Importantly, the department's Title IX rule recognizes the reality that sexual assault is often perpetrated by persons known to the victim. Our definition also includes sex-based dating violence, domestic violence, and stalking as defined by the Violence Against Women Act, which are serious problems affecting all students, especially college-age students. Let's talk specifically about dating violence. No longer will students or their loved ones have to wonder, before they report to a Title IX coordinator or other school official, whether violence between people who are in a dating relationship counts under Title IX. And no longer will they have to wonder whether they have the power to report dating violence taking place in a relationship. As you will hear in a moment, the new Title IX rule permits anyone to file a report of sexual harassment, even a friend or other bystander. In addition to dating violence, stalking based on sex is also a serious concern that presents a unique risk to the health and safety of college students. Our definition of stalking includes any course of conduct directed at a specific person on the basis of sex that would cause a reasonable person to fear for his or her safety or the safety of others, or any conduct that would cause a reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress. The new Title IX rule covers many instances of stalking based on sex, including stalking that occurs online or through messaging platforms, commonly known as cyber stalking, when it occurs in the school's education program or activity. Like sexual harassment in the form of dating violence, the new Title IX regulations make clear that even a single instance of such stalking constitutes sexual harassment. I'll now turn to my colleagues to describe the new Title IX protections for complainant autonomy.
In the past, OCR required schools to always investigate any report of sexual harassment, even when the complainant did not want an investigation or a grievance process. Under the new process, students will now have greater control over whether to file a formal complaint against anyone who sexually harasses them. As Assistant Secretary Marcus has indicated, anyone, including bystanders, may report sexual harassment and put the school on notice. When a school learns that someone is alleged to be a victim of sexual harassment, the school must promptly contact the person and inform them of their right to request supportive measures, whether that person decides to file a formal complaint or not. During this process, the school must consider the alleged victim's wishes and must offer appropriate supportive measures under the circumstances. The Title IX coordinator must also now explain to complainants that they have an option and a process for filing a formal complaint. If a complainant or their parent or guardian signs a formal complaint, or the school's Title IX coordinator signs a formal complaint, then the school must follow the grievance procedures required by the rule. The school must offer the complainant supportive measures regardless of whether a formal complaint is ever filed. A school may never pressure an individual into filing a formal complaint or into participating in a grievance process. Similarly, a school may never pressure an individual into not filing a formal complaint or participating in a grievance process. This helps protect a complainant's autonomy and gives complainants and other students more control over how their school responds. Once filed, every formal complaint must be investigated by the school. We received stories from survivors who were told by their schools or teachers that no one would believe them. Some allegations were not taken seriously by school officials, and that lack of action caused students to drop out of school to avoid their attackers. Some students told us that the Title IX coordinator appeared biased in favor of respondents. And a recent OCR investigation revealed that one large urban school district failed even to have a Title IX coordinator in the first place. We heard stories from victims who were subjected to long-term abuse by teachers and professors. We also heard about troubling instances where the school's priority was protecting the reputation of the university rather than protecting students. Under OCR's new rule, every formal complaint must be taken seriously by the school, and every complainant must be supported. The school now must include in its written grievance procedures the range of supportive measures offered by the school. Importantly, a student who has chosen not to file a formal complaint is entitled to supportive measures irrespective of whether a grievance process is pending. Every school must still designate at least one specific employee, called the Title IX coordinator, to ensure that the school's response to sex discrimination complies with federal law. The new rule expands a school's obligations to ensure its educational community knows how to report to the Title IX coordinator. In addition to stories from victims about the failures of some Title IX coordinators and the difficulty of reporting, past OCR investigations have found that colleges violated Title IX because the person identified by the school as the Title IX coordinator was unfamiliar with Title IX, had no training about Title IX, or did not even realize that he or she was the Title IX coordinator. Students deserve better. Further, in addition to the existing requirement to provide the name or title, as well as the contact information for the Title IX coordinator to students and employees, this information also must be posted on the school's website and must now be provided to all applicants to a school, all parents or legal guardians at the elementary and secondary school level, and all unions or other professional organizations that have a collective bargaining agreement with the institution. The rule requires schools to not only designate the Title IX coordinator, but also to authorize that employee to do the job of a Title IX coordinator. The rule vests important responsibilities in the school's Title IX coordinator, including responsibility for effectively implementing supportive measures and remedies for victims of sexual harassment. The rule ensures that anyone, and not just the victim, is able to report sexual harassment to a Title IX coordinator 24 hours a day by mail, phone, or email. Once a report is made, a school must promptly respond and cannot wait until the student misses classes, drops out of school, or suffers other tangible negative consequences. It is important for complainants to also know that the new rule expands required training on Title IX. Now, Title IX coordinators, investigators, and administrative decision makers, as well as anyone who facilitates an informal resolution process, must receive training on the key elements of Title IX, including the definition of sexual harassment, the scope of the school's education program or activity, how to prevent irrelevant questions about a party's sexual history from being asked during a hearing or other proceeding, and how to conduct an investigation and the grievance process, including the use of any technology to facilitate a remote hearing.
The new regulations also include prominent features that protect important aspects of complainants' privacy. The department heard from survivors of sexual harassment who said that they were worried about the public nature of Title IX proceedings and feared the stigma and backlash that went with filing a formal complaint. The new regulations require schools to adopt written grievance process and abide by those written procedures, stating that the school will never use or attempt to use questions or evidence that is protected by a legally recognized privilege, unless the person holding the privilege waives the privilege. That means the attorney-client privilege, a patient-physician privilege, or any other privilege recognized by law. Under prior Title IX policy, there was no bar against a school seeking or using this information. In the same vein, the school cannot unilaterally access or consider a party's records if those records are made or maintained by a physician, psychiatrist, or other recognized professional and made for the purpose of providing treatment to the party. These records can only be accessed with a party's voluntary written consent. On the other hand, complainants and respondents will no longer be barred from reviewing relevant evidence. Another new protection is that during the grievance process, questions or evidence about the complainant's prior sexual behavior, even with the respondent accused of sexual harassment, and even in cases where the respondent already possesses evidence about sexual history, are never deemed relevant, with only two exceptions: to prove consent or to prove someone other than the respondent committed the alleged sexual harassment. As noted earlier, a school must ensure that all decision makers, investigators, and the Title IX coordinator receive training on issues of relevance, including applying rape shield protections for complainants. This short video has touched briefly on many topics. We have explained these regulations and their codified protections for complainants in another, longer webinar, as well as a series of explanatory documents. To learn more about these topics and the entirety of the department's new regulations, please visit www.ed.gov/OCR. If you have questions regarding the department's new regulations, please send them via email to t9questions@ed.gov. Anyone who believes that a recipient has violated a federal civil rights law enforced by OCR can file a complaint online at ocrcas@ed.gov. Links to these sites and other information are posted in the video description.
All right. Dana, any other things that you want to highlight or share with the board, or any questions for Dana?
If there aren't any questions, there are a couple things we're gonna, and now that we have this information, probably revamp the way we deal with complaints. We have a procedure for if an employee or student would have a sexual harassment complaint. Clearly, since we're mandatory reporters, there's the DFS component for children, for students, but we also need to make sure that we're compliant with the OCR piece as well, and what order in which to do those things so that we don't miss our duties under and obligations under the Title IX. But DFS has some they don't like you to do anything until they tell you whether they're going to investigate a matter or not. So it's balancing those interests and coming up with a plan. So I'll be working with Mr. Mbang and Jackie to some extent about how we formulate that so that we're compliant on both ends. And like I said, we need to get additional training for specifics on the grievance process for our Title IX coordinator. So I'll do all that with them.
Questions for Dana? All right. Thank you, Dana, for keeping us focused on what we need to know about. Oh.
I was going to throw in a couple of other things in here. We've got some upcoming training as well. I haven't actually reached out to Dana yet, but I will be to see if she can give us a refresher on the Sunshine Law at our next board meeting. So, okay. All right. And that's how you do it, without an email. And that's also, and then we'll have, there's training from some modules that School Smart put out. And in the next governance committee, we're going to prioritize those. And so we'll have some of those modules coming out in coming months. And then, of course, we have our June board retreat as well, which will include a training component. And right now, Beth, I think you're working with School Smart on the facilitator and the location, but we have locked in the date.
Yes, correct. So June 11th is confirmed. It will be hybrid. Hopefully most of us can be in person. There will be a virtual option. But yeah, we met with AWAS last week to talk about potential facilitators, because we do think it would be very valuable to have somebody help facilitate the process of not starting a new strategic plan, but just evaluating our current one and updating it based on the last crazy few years we've had. So
yeah. And then the only other reminder I have is, remember, next month, the board meeting will be a week earlier on March 7th to accommodate spring break. So I can't remember, Beth, if that invite is from you or from Mr. Bang, but we need to update that for next March and let Alix know to update the school calendar too.
good reminder. Yes, we'll make sure to update that calendar. Okay, I think that is all from governance. Thanks, Michelle. Jackie, finance.
Hello, everybody. Yes, so let's go. The first order of business is to approve January accounts payable. You all received that on Friday. I didn't receive any questions. Finance committee went over several questions and we reviewed those. And so we just need a motion for January accounts payable.
This is Harriet. So moved to approve accounts payable for January.
Second.
Second, Michelle.
Everyone in favor?
Yes.
Or wait, sorry, any discussion? I'm then everyone in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, and then the rest of our presentation is like we do every month, our DESI payments, ADA, and our year-to-date actuals and projections. And at the end, we have a few motions we need to go over. So next slide. So overview of revenue. So it's a moving target. I know I said that, but you really only have 4 months of real good data from September to December. This includes the December close. So there's some good things. So last month, I think we had, we're saying our basic formula is going to be way under, but we did get our, we did get a $216,000 prior year correction for that increased attendance there in April and May. So that's a good thing. We have an increase in Prop C. So we're about $143,000 over budget for the year. This is forecast. About $173,000 over in our food payments. And again, that's due to the seamless summer opportunity and most students taking advantage of that, which has been awesome. We had our title and SPED payments in this year, and those were already budgeted. That was already budgeted. In our budget this year, we had the ESSER 3 allocation, which is just a tad over $1 million. And we talked about that in a few months ago in our forecast about whether or not we needed to use it this year. Could really help us in the 22-23 budget year. So even though that money is in the revenue budget, we are looking at maybe only utilizing some of it to get to our break even this year, but it's a little too early for us to ask for that right now. Okay, next slide. So some of those drivers, as I said, is there's some bad guys and some good guys in this. So our enrollment is under by 25. Our ADA is under by 51 students. Attendance, when I looked at it in December, looked about hovering around 92%. I think that there were some changes, and it's really closer to, it varies from 88 to 92% and 93% middle and upper high school. Like I said, we got our prior year correction. And then with the Kansas City MOU for the funding for basic formula, in this month, it looks like it's going to be around $9,000 per pupil for the year. And again, it's so early to say because the DESI changes in payments. For instance, we're at $8,300. And so the difference with the MOU gets us to about $9,000. Now, again, we may need to adjust that ADA with that MOU because we set that up at the beginning of the year with our September enrollment. So I will work with them, which will adjust down for sure. I'm not sure how much right now. And then again, like I said, evaluating that budget, see if there's portions or all of that ESSER 3 allocation we could move to our 22-23 school year, which would be very helpful. Okay, next.
And Jackie, one quick question. What was our typical attendance pre-COVID? Like, we're lower attendance than we're used to, correct?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, 95%, always 95. And so what happens is, we give DESI our estimated, we give the enrollment in September, and we give them our estimated ADA. So I take the enrollment in September, and quite honestly, if you look historically, September, October, November, we have really much higher than that, 97, and 98%, August, September. We see it waning in December. So what happens in our budget, it takes into account the average, because the very beginning of the year is really healthy. Winter months, some of those times, and then at the end of the year, it goes back up. So an average of over 95%. And this, just this little change is a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we are watching that very closely. Okay, next slide. And again, this is a lot of detail. We're not going to go over, but if you look at the second column, which is our forecast, against our budget, you can kind of see almost a break even again with our revenue, with all the different changes that we've had with increased per pupil amount, even though the ADA has gone down, in our prior year carryovers, and then just hoping that we could take out some of that ESSER 3 money and move to next year. And that still gives us almost even what we thought we were going to have in our budget this year. If you go to expenses, they're over so far. And some of that is ESSER 2 technology expenses. And, so we had budgeted that expenses, revenue over expenses would be about 442,000. You see that in the bottom line on the third column. And right now, with everything we know and still making adjustments, I've lowered that to around 260,000. Okay, and again, really early. Even though this is under budget, we did have expenses under budget also. So let's go to the next slide. Kind of the drivers real quickly. Through November, we're over budget by about 314,000. And again, some of that is because we spent so much at the beginning of the year getting things ready. We had to buy picnic tables for social distancing, all of the expenses that we had to do for COVID, spraying, and extra supplies, still buying masks also. We have an increase in substitutes and contracted services this year that we created an extra line on the detail that you received, but we're still under budget in salaries and benefits by about 400,000, but we're at 150,000 for the increase in substitutes and contracted services. Nothing new. We've been doing this since July. We were over budget in our final summer school expenses. And again, all those ESSER 2 expenses for technology and capital. There are still capital projects that are required that we weren't budgeted. We've talked about that. I wasn't ready tonight. We didn't go through all of them in our finance committee, but hopefully in March we'll have a list of those. Some of them, as you know, the oak stairs, tuck pointing, some of the electric work, things that we couldn't defer anymore. So we've done some of those, but there are some other things that we need to look at. And so hopefully in the March-April meeting that we will have a list of all of those capital expenditures. We're way over in food service expenses, but then again, the revenue was there to cover that. And again, teaching resources over and purchasing all of our equipment, things that we didn't budget, not knowing what we were going to need at the beginning of the year. Okay, next. So in our budget, if you see in the middle line, we're just a break-even budget. We had expenses and revenue, and then after our debt service, we had just a little over $27,000. So it's a really break-even budget. With everything I have just through December, and we don't do anything different than projections, it looks like a negative 140,000. This is where that ESSER 3 comes in, to be able to use some of those funds so that we would not have a negative budget for the year, or look at using reserves. But we do have that federal funding to cover some of these additional expenses for COVID. So we won't really end the year there, but if we continue doing everything we're doing right now, that was the bottom line projection. Any questions on that? Okay, next slide. I just want to reiterate that this early. We're assessing that ADA monthly and more frequently, just making sure we get good projections and clear up the database so that we can have really good projections and go back to DESE and say, now we want you to pay us on this ADA. We've started up the 22-23 budget, been working quite a lot on it. Again, working on it again this week. The new market tax credit community benefit report was finished and submitted about a week late, but they got it. RFPs went out for bus service responses, and Carlos has been diligently working on that. RFP for food service, we have the RFP now. We need to get that posted. And I think Michael can address this a little bit later, but we have loans that balloon payment coming due in 2024. And so we started discussing this in Finance Committee, and Chad Phillips was gracious enough to have a meeting with Linda Cole at Country Club Bank and just begin to start about discussions on what we needed to do for next steps. So, he discussed that with Michael, and we can bring that up a little more detail next time, but just so you know that we're working on that. And the only expense to us right now early on would be assessments, property, and that would be about $5,000 per building. So And, you know, for years I have kept up the building assessments, you know, for all three buildings, and kind of waned a few years ago. And with working with MC Realty, they did a roof to basement review of all three buildings. They had lots of their engineers and HVAC and roofing people and landscaping people. And so those assessments are in. I have just begun, I just will share those with finance committee. We can talk about that at our next meeting. So we kind of have an idea that helps us plan for the next 5 years. We have our 5-year budget, actually 7 years. So we can put some of those big items, and some of them we can defer and some of them we can't. So I think that's really one of the most important things we have to do in the next few months as we're doing the budget for 22, 23 and successive years. Very extensive, and I appreciate those greatly. Okay, is there another slide, Mr. Bang, for other business? Any questions on any of those? Okay. We asked for the 990s. We got an extension, so now they're done. We have two. We have one for AL Real Estate and one for Académie Lafayette, both for the 2021 year. And I just need a motion to approve those. And we had talked with Beth early in the year, hoping to try and get that painting done for Cherry. And even though it's under our threshold to have to go to the board, we wanted to bring that. I did send the proposal in the packet to you. We did get 3 bids. They would like to do this over spring break when the teachers are out and give them a little time to prepare. And lastly, I need a motion to renew the line of credit for $360,000 with Country Club Bank. We renew it every 2 years, I think, and we haven't had to use it, but it is there for emergencies. So I'd like to have that extended. And if you have any questions on any of those things, I'd be glad to answer.
Is number 2, how is number 2 different for Académie Lafayette?
It's from the new market tax credit. We have Académie Lafayette AL Real Estate. So I'm sorry. So one should be AL Real Estate and one should be for the school.
Okay.
2 990s. Sorry, I did
Okay.
not word that correctly at first. So there are 2, one for Académie Lafayette, one for AL Real Estate.
Okay. So each need a different motion.
That is
separate
correct.
motion.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Beth. Yeah, thanks, Michelle.
I'll move to approve the 990 for Académie Lafayette.
Do we have a second?
Second, Harriet.
Any discussion? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And then I'm going to move again to approve the 990 for Académie Lafayette Real Estate.
Second is Joan.
Any discussion? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
We'll keep it rolling here. I'm going to move to approve in and out painting bid of up to $25,000 for Cherry first floor classrooms.
Second, Harriet.
Any discussion? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
And lastly, I'm going to move to approve the renewal of a $360,000 line of credit with Country Club Bank.
Second is Joan.
Any discussion? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So then Beth will need you to sign that resolution. Okay.
Okay, perfect. All the motions carry. Thank you.
Great.
Development Committee, who do we have?
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Whoops, do we have, is there one prior to that by chance? There we go. Thank you. So what I've done is a departmental strategy evaluation, kind of adjusting our development departments. 21-22, there we go. Strategic plan to start working on strengthening our 22-23 school year. So what I did is I broke it down and pulled our strengths and a few weaknesses that need to be working on. So what I did is, of course, our school's reputation, performance, and expansion has been very attractive for donors of all levels. Building the strong relationships with our key foundations and donors has been an extreme priority these days. Developing our new relationships, which has become successful here for our future funding. We've been working on the database. Everyone's familiar with Donor Perfect. It's been a little bit of a mess, but now we're trying to provide access with up-to-date, accurate information. So to give a little bit more clarity, even through our annual funding, the addresses that are coming back are being uploaded. We're reaching out to past donors just to see if we have current information. So it's been a little tedious job to do, but it's still in the process. We're probably about 40% accurate and done. And then as well as another one of our strengths is our new events that are coming that will bring opportunities for funds. The weaknesses that I feel that, is just, unfortunately, it's with the pandemic situation, is the lack of continued engagement and availability of funds for current donors. Slight change, but not too much. It's growing a little bit more. And then a continued slight budget cuts from corporations. I'm focusing more on the larger ones, which is projecting a little bit of delay on some funding, but sourcing some temporary and prospective avenues. And then I kind of pushed on with the development calendar, since it's all the elements have fundraising components for the remainder of this school year. So we do have the annual fund appeal that went out in December, but another e-blast will be launched here in March. Our Generations Day and Special Persons Day will be the week of the 18th through the 22nd, but it will be one day, just a little bit clarity, but more information will be coming here soon. It will be one day at each campus. We will have also a community kickoff that has been given to us from the Kenda Scott on the plaza, which a percentage of the proceeds will be a give back to AL for 2 full days. Those dates also will be here sent out shortly. Of course, Evening in Paris, our Musketeer March, and then our end of year give will be out in June. And then I believe I was going to give you guys a little bit of the Evening in Paris update. As I know we were a little bit excited. I think there's another slide, hopefully. There we go. There we go. Thank you. Evening in Paris update. Just to share a little bit, we were excited about the overwhelming response with the Evening in Paris. Has made the event sell out. It is with just a few tickets of staff remaining, and then a few sponsorship opportunities that the tickets are available through that. We did want to keep with tradition, but we had to scale back excessively due to the current pandemic situation. But I'm actually in the process of hopefully finding a virtual creative catering that is going to offset the people that couldn't get tickets, that will do something on probably at Armor for a pickup, but don't want to go into too much detail until I get that confirmed here, hopefully by tomorrow. And then our virtual silent auction will be open for everyone to enjoy. We will be doing the unveiling of the silent auction items here when it comes closer to the event, and you'll be able to bid on items whether you're at the event or at home bidding. I've also added on the platform a navigational of all the questions that you might have. You can go through it. It's Q&As. I have the link here. It lists everything, hopefully imaginable, that will navigate you through everything that you need. And then if you still want to participate, anyone that you know of that wants to donate items to the silent auction or become one of our sponsors, you can reach out to me at the development department. And you can also text the EIP 2022 to that phone number, and it will give you a link to donate directly to the bottom of the page. So there's some different avenues of utilizing the fundraising opportunities. Any questions?
Right. Thanks for the update.
You're welcome.
Right, Diversity Committee, I know Kelly is not here tonight. I'm happy to sort of share a quick update from our meeting last week. Mr. Sadie was there. He's been leading the process of helping to audit what the classrooms are reading. So as you all might remember, I think there was a decision to first audit what is everything that students read in English and French to really evaluate what those are and ensure that they have the right representation of different races, topics, cultures, to make sure we know what our students are reading. So that's step one. Step two will be the library audit, but we first wanted to start with classroom audit since that's what every student reads each year. So that process is going well. I know Mr. Sadie thought it would be complete by the end of this year. That was a crazy year. So I think that is the goal, to have that done by the end of this year. We are excited to have landed on a survey tool. I think for the last few years, we haven't been able to survey our parents, students, and teachers at scale, but that informal type of feedback from our community is really critical to understand what is the culture, how do people feel about the school, that will help drive the work of the committee and beyond as we move forward. So we're excited to launch that. That will be implemented this spring. And then finally, we are still trying to figure out what's the right way to really help teachers understand how to create a sense of belonging inside each classroom. So there's a couple things that we are following up on. I know Mr. Mbang is looking to potentially be a part of some school smart strategies that they're convening a conversation around family engagement, and also reaching out to some other key partners who are really doing very thoughtful work in regards to belongingness. So that was the focus of our conversation for last month. Mr. Mbang, anything you would add?
Oh, no, fine. The only thing is the Panorama survey, we're planning to administer it in late March.
That'll be good timing to have sort of feedback prior to our summer retreat, because I do think that will really help drive much of our work. All right, any questions about Diversity Committee? Okay, next up.
So, I share with you the two reports, the two data, discipline data report and attendance. As you know, the School Performance Committee has a data calendar to report to the board on a monthly basis. So Gwen, do you want to add something, or what do you?
Whoop, Gwen, you're on mute. Looks like you're trying to talk.
Yeah, I think just provide kind of a highlight and overview. I think we all just need to recognize that the data is very difficult right now with being 2 years here with the pandemic, and just recognize that we're just looking at something that is challenging right now.
Yeah, so I sent you the discipline data by grade level here. You can see, and when I say discipline here is only ISS and OSS. That's the two that are being reported to DESE. DESE only take into account IS, OSS, and for expulsion and dismissal and the more severe one. So, and by grade level and by ISS is in-school suspension, OSS is out-of-school suspension. You don't have any long-term suspension or dismissal, expulsion. One, you probably have read this year's discipline across the country has been extremely high. We've had fewer vandalism in middle school mainly, at Armour mainly. But from what I heard, even here in Kansas City, discipline is very high. I mean, we have for the first semester a total of 33 in-school or out-of-school suspension. And as you can see by grade level, we have a higher number in 9th grade, 18.52, because the number of students is 5. And the lowest point is at 10th grade, 0%. So if you want to interrupt and ask questions as you move forward, feel free to do that. This is by ethnicity and race. Same one. You can see there's still, as you can see, 15 for Black and 13 for white. And overall, we have, of course, a high percentage of suspension for Black, 5.5 almost, while the average is 2.5 for the whole school. So some of the incidents are multiple incidents for a few students doing it.
Oh, so this is not unique students. This is number of times.
Some of them, yes, for its number of times. So, and for some is one few students for many times. Any question as I move?
Well, that kind of skews the numbers a little bit, doesn't it? I don't know if that's useful for us if some of these are multiple offenses by the same student. It makes the numbers look worse than they are.
I think the spreadsheet I sent you put where you have the multiple incident and when you have single students. It's more detailed. But yes, you may be right. But the number of incidents, I think that's what DECID is taking into account.
Okay, well, I guess so you presented this, is this being presented to us for the first time, or did you present this to the committee first?
I sent it to the committee to look into it, to ask questions.
This is the first time the committee's seeing this or talking about it?
Talking about it, correct.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it might be I would want the committee's input, or of whatever the discussion is, to dig down a little bit more before we all as a board just see these, because it's like you said, if there's things like there's more details that we're missing, you can just draw the wrong conclusion by just looking at this at the surface. I don't think we want to do that. I think we want to have the most informed perspective as possible. So I don't know. I'd be curious to for the next meeting, if the committee discusses this and digs a little deeper and then presents to us kind of what the issues are, if there are any. That just makes sense to me. That maybe that's just me, but
okay.
John, thank you very much for your comments. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
So the spreadsheet, that's the spreadsheet we sent to the committee. But the summary, this is putting it into a slide for the board. If you need more detail, we can represent it at the next board meeting. Same for this one is by gender. As you can see, there's slightly more female than male students. This is the Saturday school one. Saturday school is not reported to DESI. It's more something we created generally to deal with small, low severity or small issues. And the way it works is students have 1 month, during 1 month, if they have 3 violations or incidents, it became 1 Saturday school. If they have 2 incidents in a month, so the 2 incidents will go away. Every month they have a clean slate. So they have to have 3 things incident during the month to have 1 Saturday school. Saturday school is from 9 to 12. Generally, what they do, they come to work on things that teachers who think the kids can be helped in this or on this and that, they'll do it. Making up their work. In the past, we have had students who voluntarily decide to come to Saturday school, but those were not counted because they come to just make up or work on a project and be helped by us teachers. Again, one more thing, Saturday school is only at Arnold from 6th grade to high school. It's by grade level. You have more in 9th grade in terms of percentage. Question about discipline in general, or?
Yeah, a quick question. Maybe you said this already. Are Saturday school, are they still given for people who just don't do their homework?
I think they made a change, but it's part of reason why you can get Saturday school if you do not do your homework for 3 times for a month during the month.
Right. So it's not necessarily discipline. All of it's discipline related.
Yeah, it's not necessarily discipline. So it can be you did not do your homework.
Okay, I think that's important too, especially when you see 9th graders. And there's more 9th graders getting Saturday school. I think it seems alarming, but I would guess, I don't know, but I would, being the father of 9th graders, I would be pretty not surprised if it was for homework more than actual discipline. But
yeah, that's
I think that means something when it changes the picture a little bit when you see this.
Yeah,
That's
again, Saturday schools are those small things like not doing homework, or sometimes but we stopped doing it counting late arrival. So if you have a 5 late arrival, but we don't do that anymore.
And I do think Saturday school is an important thing for us to look at, because in a typical year, we have such a small number of in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, that Saturday school is a place that we can get a sense of how things are going. But yeah, I think we do need to sort of understand the data a little bit more to know what's behind those numbers.
The type of incidents you mean?
Yeah, the type of incidents, and is it, how many unique students versus repeat, I don't want to call them offenders, but repeat goers. I do think those kinds of things are helpful to get a better picture of what's going on. Because I know, like, when I look at the overrepresentation of, say, our Black students, it's definitely worrisome. So it's just something I would like to drill down to and understand better.
Well, we'll have a discussion with the school performance committee first.
Yeah, and I missed the last meeting, so I apologize. I know that was probably your hope to do it before the meeting.
At the last meeting, the data was not ready. It was only sent on Friday, not the Friday before, a week ago. was Friday, the 4th.
Mhm.
It was sent to the committee on Friday, the 4th. And the committee did not have a possibility to meet again to discuss the data.
Yep. So yeah, I think we can continue to drill down into it in the next meeting and share back any just key insights at the next board meeting.
Okay. So this is the attendance. I think Jackie can pitch in this as it is presented from the IT department. As you see here, it's the Cherry building for second quarter 2. And the last column is the whole average for the school. Okay. So, so remember that pre-K is only for 8 kids. So, and this,
So I'm hoping this is because of the pandemic.
I know.
Because if these numbers, you know, I know very little about education, but what I do know is you have to come to school. and you know, I used to tell my kids, even if you're not listening, you're listening. You have to be in school. And with 88% in our young, what I find, and this number reflects the same as Oak, is that I'm just hoping this is a pandemic problem.
And I mean, I can't tell you, you see the same thing in schools across Kansas City, across the nation, that behavior issues are up and attendance is down.
Really?
So,
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is not uncommon, but I think to your point, the hope is when we can move out of the pandemic, we go back to sort of pre-pandemic levels of attendance. And I think that that's yet to be seen. We don't know what that will look like.
Oak building. And this is for the Armor building.
Which I find fascinating. Usually younger grades are better than older grades. And I find this just fascinating that our middle school and high school have a better attendance.
I agree. The only question that it raised for me, because that is typically what you see. So this seems to be backwards, except that parents of younger children tend to be more protective and worried. So at times like the pandemic, that was the only thing that occurred to me, because I agree, it was surprising.
Well,
it could be vaccine related too, because the availability of vaccine for younger kids and need to quarantine.
Yep, very good point. And remind me how, when a student has to quarantine because of COVID, they actually get counted as attended if they're online, correct? So they don't get counted as absent. Am I correct?
Yes, they will be counted as being homebound.
Right. So that wouldn't show up in these numbers. So these could be students who are attending virtually. They would look the same in these numbers.
Well, it might be everything, though.
Yeah.
It might be everything. Remember that, as Jen said, Armors, they're almost, I mean, the vaccination started with there, and parents, if you send parents about, I mean, COVID numbers are raising, you may have kids who are quarantining not connect to the classroom, for instance. You're quarantining, you need to connect to the classroom to be counted. And they can be quarantining and not connected to the classroom. Okay.
Got it. But yeah, and I mean, I don't know if everybody saw Jackie's point in the chat. The difference between 89% and 95% attendance is $300,000 for you, right? So it has a huge impact on budget. It has a huge impact on just academic success, because if you're not there, we can't help move the dial and support you in the way that you need. So I do think the attendance issue is definitely a worrisome trend.
Okay, let's go to the district in general, 89. By ethnicity. Any question about attendance or discipline before we move to the next one? Okay. Chrissy, are you there?
I am.
Start with your presentation.
So these are the all grade apps, the month by month comparison, the total over 4 years. So as you can see, it kind of breaks it down here, year 1, year 2, year 3, and the current year, which is year 4. Year 1, the overall total 317, year 2, 386, year 3, 294, and the current year, year 4, 301. Okay, and then these are the kindergarten
Christine,
apps.
I'm sorry, year 4 is this year, like the enrollment period that's closing at the end of this month?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
When do we draw?
March the 4th or something around that. When is the day of the lottery?
March 3rd.
Okay, so this all gets closed at the end of the month.
Yes, and this is only for January. We have 1 more month, February, to count.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's only up to January.
Okay. So we're a little better than last year, still down. But we're almost back to year 1. Okay.
So these are the kindergarten apps, the month by month comparison. So for year 1, the overall total for the kindergarten apps, 291. Year 2, 309. Year 3, 218. And for the current year, year 4, 213.
Because the previous number was all out, was that kindergarten and first grade combined?
This one, I think
300, the 301, what did that was all applications. So that could be kindergarten, first grade, 9th grade, that's everybody.
Yes, yeah, because it's all grades. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay.
And so this is the app breakdown for the 22-23 year for the current year. And it breaks it down. This is the kindergarten sibling and the employee apps total. Also have the new kindergarten apps, all kindergarten apps, and then all grade applications.
And remind me in the applications, because I know we do the common application with all of the other schools in the area. Do we have a way to see, because you can mark your sort of first, you can rank your school choices, correct? In the common app. And do we have a way to know how many ranked Lafayette is number 1?
Oh, that is a good question. I can definitely research and get back with you.
Okay, that would be awesome, because I do think that gives us an even better indication as to how many of those would come to Lafayette.
And
Okay.
there's a way also to look at the single application. How many do you have a single app?
It's definitely worrisome to see our minority number lower than what we typically see.
Are we able to go into the preschools yet?
We still have one preschool. Do we have any teacher now in different other preschools, or how many teachers do you have there, French teachers, do you know?
As of right now, we have the one French teacher.
Yeah, we have had a lot of problem finding any teachers in French teacher for our different program. You just need to know that with this pandemic, many things we were able to do, we can do them. We used to have recruiters in neighborhoods that would go and fill in application for people, went to those events, targeting those neighborhoods and sending 3 teachers in 3 to 4 preschool programs. We can't even find one teacher. So it's tough.
I know in the diversity committee, they did talk about just the number of people who are stopping by to share information about Lafayette and trying to develop relationships with certain preschool programs, but it's not the same as having those teachers out there.
Right. And it's not the same as having, you know, we used to, before pandemic, we were having open houses and serving food and bringing people in.
Yep.
Yeah, we had one open house. She'll talk about it.
Okay.
It was last week or a couple of weeks ago. So it's right here.
Yeah. So we did have an open house sponsored by Show Me Casey Schools. It was a Saturday citywide open house. We had 129 in-person attendees at the Oak campus.
And we have nothing to compare that to because it was 2 or 3 years ago before we had one last time, right? I mean, okay. Gotta get over this pandemic.
We're all ready to be over this pandemic.
Get over this.
The pandemic doesn't want to be over.
So when I talk to Leslie Colmeyer sometime, whatever we're seeing here is almost the same everywhere, including what she calls school hopping now. We did not know before. Parents changing schools all the time. So, hopefully it's not going to change the parent culture forever. Okay, now let's come to the enrollment cups. So the enrollment cups, what is being proposed here is to go from 210 in kindergarten to 220. And first grade to go from 200 to 210. Why? It's because we know that now from first grade to second grade, there's a higher attrition than usual. And we're trying to bake into the possible attritions to keep whatever we have. What you're gonna have is in kindergarten, currently the number of students per class is 21. We're going back to the 22 we have had the last, I would say 7 years, we have had 22, and we drop it down to 21, going back to 22. That's what I'm proposing. First grade is going down from 25 to 21. Again, the reason is we were not able to find the interns that we wanted to have to help those kids. So we're going down, therefore, from 25 normally to 21 students per class down. And this, if you bake in the normal attrition, it will balance out in second grade for what our projection is. So we will be, therefore, we'll be going from four first grade. Now we have 5 kindergarten for each building. Currently, we went from 5 kindergarten for each building to 4 first grade. You're going to 5 kindergarten, 5 first grade, so that we'll have a lower number of students in first grade. And one more thing is, generally, we were not able to satisfy the application for first grade. There's always more application space available in first grade, and we were not able to take them all into even now. So filling up the first grade should not be an issue. And once you do that, you will not have to backfill anyway during the school year, because the tuition will help us down in second grade. Question about this one. For the 9, 8, and 11 is mainly for our own students. So once we set it, probably we'll have later to lift the cap as opposed to doing the reverse side. So it's for our own students we have now. And again, once you set it, depending on the applications at the board meeting, probably in April, the board may have to lift the cap for 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, and we'll take higher number of students.
I move to approve the enrollment caps. This is Harriet. A motion to approve the enrollment caps.
Do we have a second?
Second, Mike Bland.
Any discussion? Everyone in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries.
Staff recognitions. This is for the Oak campus. The team recognized for its organizational skills and capacity to manage the 4th grade. This is the 4th grade team. You have Madam Ario, Mr. Zach Mejean, and you have Madam Roland, the English teacher. They have a really good team. So the capacity to manage the 4th grade students' body with great autonomy, very good teaching, and communication skills. Kudos to the 4th grade team at Oak. Yeah, at least one of the teachers told me the same thing, that they really have a good team there for the 4th grade. And this is the culture committee at Cherry for organizing monthly celebration and Black History Month activities. You have there the social worker and the few teachers, different grade levels for the Black History Month committee. And for Armor, the entire Armor team is recognized for showing leadership, collaboration, and great team spirit during our time of crisis. Teachers were generous, empathetic, and supportive of each other. They graciously gave up their time to cover classes and provide assistance where needed. Together, they provided that indeed it takes a village. Yes, they have been extremely available for covering for each other, self-organization. If somebody has to leave or have an issue, they posted their coverage, and generally they cover each other. They have a really good team here.
That is wonderful to hear. I know it has been an impossible start to the sort of after the new year for teachers. I know they're asked way too much to have to cover, so it's awesome that they're stepping up. Do you see things getting better in the buildings as far as coverage and being able to sort of start to get back to a little bit of normal, or how are things going?
I think so, because remember, we used to have 9 teachers out at some point. It was a miracle that all the buildings stayed open. Sometimes we'd have 26% of our teachers out. Now we're no longer there. Maybe because of COVID, maybe now it's down to maybe 2 or 3. And remember also, we call upon the parents to help for substitute and volunteering 1 hour a day. We had a lot of parents, I think around 50 something, who want to be available for 1 hour of their day at least. And I think we had around 24, 26 who want to substitute and going through the DESI substitute process. And the other day I heard one woman saying that they have enough substitute now. So
that is wonderful that parents were able to step up and help fill in for teachers, because I know that's what they most need. They just need they need help in the classroom and at lunch. So that's exciting to see how parents have stepped up and thinking about how do we continue to encourage that level of involvement from parents, because it has been awesome to see.
Yeah,
they've been excited to do it.
Yeah, it's really great. I think it shows again how engaging parents is very beneficial for the school and for everybody.
Absolutely.
And I think that recognizing also those parents who step up to help, this either in the classroom or even parents who would like to be substitute for the nurses. Amazing. Now the COVID. So there's staff vaccination. If you have it here, we have staff members are largely vaccinated with the primary series. We're talking about the first 2 doses. While nearly all staff are eligible for a booster, only 53 have submitted documentation showing that they have been they're boosted. So it may be more than that, but only 53 submitted the documentation. That being said, only 64% of staff have indicated that one way or another if they have had a booster. So we have 64 who indicated one way or another that they have a booster, but not submitted their documentation, meaning that many staff have not submitted updated vaccination information since the beginning of the school year. Student vaccination, total of student vaccination by the whole district 49%, Armor 48, Oak 55, and Cherry 43. And the overall breakdown, Caucasian, so I need to have an A there, versus minority. All district we have 64 Caucasian versus 36 for the minority. Armor 68-32, Oak 64-36, and J 60-40. So the breakdown is 180% versus 20%, as you see it below. Racial breakdown of the vaccinated student was, yeah.
Good to know. Is there anything that we're doing to help make it easier to get vaccinated?
I think we've talked about at some point having a vaccination clinic at Armor. We need to check how it's going, or we'll be doing it or not. But that's something we talked about, seeing if we can open a vaccination clinic at Armor. So quarantine by race, I think one board member asked this at the last meeting, at the last committee meeting. I think Jen or somebody asked it, what is the quarantining by race? What do we have? 56 Caucasian versus 43 for 21-22 for quarantining. And then as you see, August is 64-36. And January 45% versus 55% for minorities. Okay, and what you have here is testing participation. How many kids participate in the testing, weekly testing by building, and the percentage. So Oak, we only have 36%, Cherry 40.2, Armor 52.2, and the whole district 41.9. percent of students are participating to the weekly testing. Any question, concern, comment about the COVID updates? Next one is the calendar, school calendar.
Do we have to vote on the school calendar?
I think so, yes.
Oh, I didn't think we voted on the calendar. We do?
I think we do.
Okay, good to know.
It's
John,
not,
don't go anywhere.
it's not the calendar, but the number of days and 6 hours.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have a motion to approve it. So, just to inform you how the calendar process function is, we have a Conseil d'école school council that meets in December and January. And in the school council, we have 4 or 5 parent representatives. Among the parent representative, we have the PTO president and at least 1 representative per building of parents. And 5 teachers too, from different buildings. We have the administration and the principals, central admin and principals. So we met in December, our first meeting, and our last meeting was January 20, around that. So these are the dates, starting date for next year. Administration, July 27, 1 week before the new teacher. New teachers arriving August the 3rd. They always arrive 1 week before the returning teachers, August the 10th, and students would be August the 17th. The last day of school is May 26th for students. And what you have here for the calendar days, number of days, 169 days. Student instructional time, hours is 1,192 hours. DESI requires only 1,044 hours is what is required by DESI. So therefore we have an additional 148 hours. The reason is because we have longer school days. Our school days is 7 hours, and for normally for DESI it can be between 6 and to 6.5 hours, 6.5. So which give us 21 additional days for snow, for anything else that happened. We do not have to add to the school calendar. So it's an additional 21 school days. Teachers have work days normal in their contract of 188 days.
I move to approve the school calendar. This is Harriet.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Oh, I thought you were saying you seconded. Sorry.
Any discussion? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
High school update. The big event is the verification day, meaning IB, the IB organization will verify our diploma program. It's scheduled on February 28th and March 1st. It is going to be a virtual visit, meaning that teachers will be photographing and uploading their classes and everything in action. And I would say also here that Katie Wilson, our IB coordinator, has been doing exceptionally great job making sure we are ready for this visit. I think that she deserves a exceptional recognition for everything she's been doing, including finding a safe, because part of the requirement also you get finding a safe located somewhere in a closet that cannot be on the hallway. The safe is for the exams, the exam paper for IB, exam papers that need to be secured, and then also renovating classes to make sure that we have what we need. Example of needs is in the science class, we need to have a button, panic button to, or whatever, emergency button to cut the electricity and the gas if you need that to do it, and put electricity. All those things need to be done. We're working on that. We will show the plan of renovation for next year too, plus all the every preparation planning that the teachers have been doing. So that's what we've been working on. So we've also planned for next year what kind of a subject will be offered for standard level and mainly for our 11th grade. One more big event happening next year is at the end of the 11th grade, our trip, 11th grade students trip to China, Spain, or Senegal. So that's what we'll be planning for summer of 22-23. Question for the high school?
Great.
Again, I won't say it enough. I know Katie is really helping, doing a fantastic job. Of course, with her, the principal, who had been also extremely absorbed by all the job and she's doing. So I think that the high school has a fantastic team working together. That makes things easier. For academic program, 3rd grade, part of the expenses we did a couple of months ago is buying the 161 Chromebooks card and in cards for 3rd grade. The 3rd grade was the only grade level where we didn't have the Chromebooks in the classroom. Remember, currently we have, every classroom has their own number of Chromebook in a card in the classroom, so the teacher can use them whenever they need it. So 3rd grade was the only one not having it. Now we bought them for the 3rd grade. Principal will be holding their 3rd quarter parent principal's coffee in February. We do it once a quarter just to touch base with parents and hear what concern they have and ask questions to the principals. So as I said, we have a lot of parents all volunteer, vaccinated and background checked. So to volunteer, you need to be vaccinated, have a background check. We are eager to help with, they're able to help with subbing and supervising lunch, dismissal arrival, office needs. Individual buildings will follow up with orientation and scheduling. So again, our parents have been fantastic helping us to bridge that gap of substituting and helping in any way. Again, I hope also we'll continue the culture of engaging parents. We realize that it's not never good thing to have parents engage and be involved. Thanks them. So open house, we just talked about it. At Oak, it was at Oak. We had 129 participants. It was the Oak team, Madam Warner, the vice principal, and Mr. JC, Jean-Claude Jatta was also participating, helping Christy, and also Carlos was there helping the setup. Thank you. Black History Month Cherries activities organized by the Culture Committee, classroom lessons in English in the library and social study, poster contest for students, themed hallway displays for each grade level, and end of the month celebration, music and dance. So for next year, question, yes, before we move forward?
No.
So planning for next year, as you know, the board needs to approve any new position we're hiring before we move forward. It's generally in the budget. When the board approves the budget, we talked about it too. But we're starting the process, of course, we need to hire. Normally, with our current growth, we were planning to have at least 5 new teachers minimum additional for the K-8. So we need 2 new homeroom, and reason why the 3 new homeroom in K-5 is the 2 first grader and in 4th grade. The rest of the teachers are teachers we were not able to recruit last year, and we replaced by sub teachers or teachers who did not come. We will be recruiting more than that, of course, around 11. But those are positions that already existed. High school, we need 7 teachers, 1 math, 1 ELA, 1 social study, 1 French, 1 Spanish, 1 Mandarin. Currently, they have been sharing PE, Spanish, Mandarin, and with the middle school. It's now time we need to start and get their own, because next year we'll be offering many classes for high school. Example, in math, we'll be offering Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry, and math standard level IB example. So that's why we need this one. And a counselor for middle school also. We'll need one for the, not counselor, but social worker. For Armor also, for student service, we'll need a special education teacher and the social worker I just talked about for the middle school. So in total is 10 following, 10 positions. They're already in our, in the projection we have for the next 5 years in our budget projections that would be probably voted on later. We'll discuss it in April, first review, and probably the budget is generally voted on in June. Any question about the hiring, concern, comment?
So we only need
Is it actually
3.
12 positions?
Pardon?
Is it actually 12 positions? Because you've got 3 new French
7.
homerooms, 7 in high school. So you've got 3 in K through 5, 7 in high school, and then you have the Armor Student Services. So we approving 12?
Yes, yeah, sorry, it's 12 then.
Okay.
Because the special education is part of the growth of the special education needs students. Yeah, sorry, it's 12. Thank you for catching it up.
Mm-hmm.
So we only really need 3 foreign teachers so far.
No. This is new position created, but we will need to hire 11 because we assess our need of hiring based on people we hired as substitute this year, and we need because we do not have the teacher did not come in.
Okay.
You don't have teachers who came in. Last example, we hired many teachers, but we have 2 teachers, for instance, we did everything. They got an H-1B and decided not to come because of the visa delay and issue. Example of that. Or teachers who decide that they're going next year, they will not be coming back next year. At this point, we have only 3 at this point. So if you calculate the teachers we were not able to hire and did not come in, plus those who are not coming up, and the new position is around 11 teachers.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So moved to approve 12 new positions for the school year of 22-23. Ms. Harry.
Second, Mike.
Any discussion?
One other question. I think last year we approved, or maybe it was the year before that it got approved, an events coordinator for development. Is that still in here? I mean,
no, because it was approved more than that. I think it was 3 years, maybe whatever years ago. But what we used to do is in and out, we balance the budget in such a way that whatever is salary is the one what we're expending, so that even if we don't hire it. So we were trying to do it pending the organization of an AIP next school year by the school.
Okay,
Yes.
so
But
then we
the
could
was-
hire that because it's,
Yeah, it was approved, but we put in the budget, but we balance it and take it out every year.
okay, okay.
It's like the HR. The HR was approved. I don't know how many years ago. We were not able to find one. We find a we find a consultant.
Yeah.
So he's helping us, but we will need to get back to at least finding a situation where we have somebody counseling, where you have somebody in the building too. So
Okay.
we'll still
And so
look-
since it was already approved, we don't have to approve it each year. You just move it around in the budget until we,
if the board wants to approve each year, but we thought that it was approved, we were not able to fill it in or
okay.
something like that.
So we had the motion in the second. Let's go ahead and take the vote because I think John is trying to stick around for our final vote that we need to take. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going the wrong way. Okay, high school update. Cherry is there. My computer is an old one. It is as old as when I arrived here, I found it here. So I need to change it at some point. And it's too sensitive. Once you touch it, it moves forward. So now for planning again, it's great that we have Bamboo HR. I don't know why we were waiting so long to have it. Again, because of Marsha's work, she worked hours and hours to get it ready. But it's a new platform that will help us helping to automate our recruitment and hiring. Everything is concentrated there. We have everything there, which is amazing. Jobs are posted to the current school year for 20 to 23 year. We have a lot of candidates. The principals are interviewing, and we're offering. We start offering jobs for those outside foreign candidates. We are already reviewing application and interviewing, and of course, we sent our first job offer last week. And J1, H1B visas are being renewed for current teachers, and green card for those who stay more than 3 years. Sometime one of the issues with H1B is the level of salary we have, depending on the number of years of experience. But this one also, Carlos is in charge of that, helping with Judy Bordeaux, Amity, and Cordell Foundation. Again. But again, I'd like to thank them, the principals interviewing, good job, and Marsha, as I said, just said she has worked really hard for Bamboo HR that facilitated our HR department. Any question or about anything at all I've been talked about or not talked about? Okay, good. Thank you. Let's move to Beth.
Right, just a couple quick final things. The Black KC board recruitment that we mentioned at the last meeting did launch. So you'll start to see information about that as we shared. Each participating charter school will have the ability to choose one new board member. Timeline is over this summer. So we anticipate we should get a high quality new board member from the community from that process. The other piece to be aware of, Doug Thaman is coordinating 3 webinars for current charter board members. The first webinar is on February 25th. I'll forward you all the email and focused on governing during a pandemic. So I think it would be an interesting discussion, would encourage anybody that's available to attend. If you do attend, to let Michelle know. She tracks sort of training hours. So you'll see that by email. But other than that, I think we are done. I appreciate everybody sticking with us through a longer meeting tonight. We had a lot to get through on a day that I'm sure nobody had anything else you wanted to do. So we appreciate you sticking with us.
Next time, no meeting on St. Valentine's Day.
Right. Yes, we'll try to avoid that in the future. Now go enjoy your Valentine's Day. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.